Now, based in Patagonia, an area well liked by the market, Extorre is a company spun out of Exeter Mining in March this year. Extorre has recently released a report on its gold and silver reserves. Let's get some more now on the business with the co-chairman, Yale Simpson. You call Extorre an advanced stage high-grade exploration company. How advanced and at what stage of the process are we talking about?
By advanced, it really means that you've defined the deposit. So you've got what in Canada we call them National Instrument 43-101 resources. So there's a well-defined resource there. And on top of that, we've put out what the economics would be on mining that deposit. So it becomes advanced stage when you can wrap a business model around your discovery.
What sort of quality are we talking about of the metal?
What makes it unique is Cerro Moro is the project. 80% of the resource that we have runs 32 grams of gold per ton. Now, there's 34 grams in an ounce, so you can. This is about $1,100 value per ton of rock. And our study that we just released in the last few weeks is showing costs, production costs of $201 an ounce. So revenue $1,100, cost $201. That has been a driver of value for the project.
That gives a phenomenal margin.
Yes.
On the current gold price of $1,300
yes.
an ounce.
You'd have your return. The capital cost of building a mine, and what we're looking at here is 133,500 ounces of gold a year for the first 5 years. The capital cost of building the mine is $109 million. So when you look at it purely on a cash basis, you'd say, well, you could pay back your capital in less than a year.
Right.
On an 8-year project. So that's what makes it unique. The grades are very, very high, astoundingly high grade.
So far as the geology is concerned, this is a vein field. Does that make it easier as well?
It makes it easier because of the economics of mining high grade is much easier than the economics of mining low grade. We have found and named 30 veins, but our geologists say, you give us the money, and we are drilling with 4 rigs 24 hours a day. You give us the money and we'll find you another 30. And that's the nature of veins, as they tend to be relatively narrow, very high grade, and we put 1,000 drill holes in there so far. So I would think in another couple of years it's 2,000.
So the potential for upgrades is
very large.
It's very large.
We're not only drilling on that property, we're drilling on other properties in Patagonia and Argentina.
What are the value drivers here? I mean, you talked about the high grade. What about the environment? What about the companies you're working with in the area?
We acquired this property from Anglo Gold Ashanti. They have a mine west of us, and they're producing about 250,000 ounces a year. So we acquired from them back in 2003 when gold price was terrible and they didn't need it. Pan American Silver are near us. We now have Gold Corp is near us. Minera Andes, these are all in production, or nearing production in the same area. So you have a lot of attention on these very high grade deposits, and particularly ours because we're the only one owned by a junior. The rest of them have been taken over. So we're the remaining junior. So we want to take it in production, but there's a lot of attention by the industry on what Extorre will do with this project.
Do you have to look over your shoulder a lot to find out who's looking to see whether or not you could be taking a target?
Well, you know, generally speaking, you don't get hostile takeover bids for companies that aren't yet in production. Generally, they're friendly transactions. And this isn't a discussion that I want to labor on too much because I said we're going into construction in the beginning of next year. But the fact is, if you're a public company, there's nothing to stop somebody approaching you and saying, do you want to do a deal on the project, or are you going to do a deal on the company? But like I said, we want to take it.
What about the share split, the management to institutions to the public?
60% institutionally held, 15% is management. So management can only keep going on this as long as it can keep the other 85% of the shareholders happy. So about 25% is in the public flow.
What about the listing? Because I think that you're going for a New York listing, aren't you, at some point? What are the benefits of this, do you see?
Well, we had done the same thing in Exeter.
Right.
Exeter would have 60% of its trading in the U.S. And generally speaking, U.S. investors, it's a big capital market. They like access through their own exchanges, and the New York exchange is considered a premier access point. So we will be listing Extorre there probably I would think within 3 months we're going through the process with the SEC and what have you. It's generally a value driver. Very quickly you get a huge market focus on new listings, and I do quite a bit of marketing to the major shareholders in the U.S., West Coast, East Coast, and that's why we're doing, part of the reason we're doing the flat.
With the flagship project here at Cerro Moro up and running, as you say, production there is on the horizon. What do you say to investors now? As I said, we've got the share price at record highs. What do you say to investors and potential investors in the stock of Extorre?
Some people look at it and say, isn't this getting fully valued?
Right.
And I said, no, we have stated our goal, our next milestone is to double the size of the resource. It's 1 million ounces now. We're drilling with 4 drills continuously. Our milestone will be to double it. Very high margin.
Have you got a time target on that?
That's
how long
the truth will be in the, yeah, that's right.
Right.
How long do you know a piece of rope is if you only see one end, right?
Yeah.
I would hope within a couple of years it's doubled in size.
Right.
And then you can do the math again at gold at $1,300 an ounce and your cash costs being what they are. So that's my goal.
Okay, that's it. Okay, Yale Simpson, thanks for joining us. Co-chairman then of Extorre Gold Mines.
For educational and leisure purposes only, Proactive Investors does not provide investment advice. The company is a publisher and is not registered with or authorized by the Financial Services Authority. Please refer to the full terms and conditions on the Proactive Investors website.